So this is a story about how I ended up with a U-Haul full of my things with nowhere to live in Atlanta. So last time I talked to y'all was about 10 weeks out from starting my nursing program. Plot twist, the nursing program has started. This is like the first full week, but so much has happened since then. So I kind of disappeared because I still had three prerequisite classes to finish. I finished A&P 2 with an A minus, and microbiology with an A, and nutrition with an A minus. That's not really the point. The point is because I had to finish those classes, I was still trying to like figure out living situation, and everything just kept falling through. It's very difficult to find an apartment in the Atlanta metro area as an unemployed, um, soon to be student. But anyway, I needed to get my stuff out of storage out of DC. I was staying in South Carolina with family, right? So I had my friend take me to the airport because I was going to fly from South Carolina to DC, get a U-Haul, get movers to pack up my things, and then drive from DC to South Carolina, put the rest of my stuff there in the truck, and then drive from South Carolina to Atlanta and move in. Mind you, I found a place. They told me I could move in on Tuesday, and I was like, all right, bet. So on Friday, I booked a flight for Saturday. My friend took me to the airport. When I went to her house to pick her up, I saw that the neighborhood across the street from her has the same name as the apartment complex that I moved into in the Atlanta area, right? So I was like, oh, this is a sign, like I'm on the right track, like this is amazing. Pick her up, we're driving to the airport, and while we're like crossing a railroad track, the little bars come down and the signals start dinging, like while we're on the track. So I'm like, oh shit, I ain't never had nothing like this happen to me before. It was given very much Final Destination, but whatever, we make it through. I board the flight, everything goes smoothly. I land in DC, but then I realized that I left the key to my storage unit on my car keys that I left with my friend in South Carolina. But I'm like, it's fine. I still have a little bit of time before the movers come. I still need to pick up the U-Haul truck. So on my way from the airport to the U-Haul place, I call public storage. And well, I'm talking on like the chat feature. So I'm like, hey, I'm locked out of my storage unit. Can y'all help? And they're like, oh, we have this long, like convoluted process. It can take up to a month before we unlock the lock, but you can call a locksmith or you can cut the lock with some bolt cutters. I was like, all right, cool. So I call a locksmith. It's supposed to be emergency 24 hours. I was like, help me or whatever. They was like, cool, we can do it. We'll have a tech call you right back to give you like their ETA and the price. I was like, all right, cool. So I get to public storage. My movers are already there. They're about 30 minutes early. But I let them know like, hey, like I don't have access to the storage unit, but I'm waiting on a locksmith. About 20 minutes pass, the locksmith never answers or never calls me back. So I talked to the movers and I'm like, hey, do you guys mind going to Home Depot, getting a bolt cutter and just cutting the lock? Like I'll pay you extra. Like I'll pay for the bolt cutter and I'll pay out extra for your time and labor. At first it was like, but then they ended up doing it. It was two black guys. So they go to Home Depot, they get the bolt cutter, they come back, it starts raining. Fun. So they come back, the bolt cutter doesn't work. The lock is like the circular public storage lock and it's kind of small, so they couldn't get a good angle to cut the bolt to get it off. So they're like, this is a fail. They spent like 30 minutes on that, right? Mind you, Home Depot is about 15 minutes away. So that's 30 minutes there and back just on the commute. My time with them is only for 2 hours. This is important. So 30 minutes Home Depot and back, about 30 minutes trying the bolt cutter. It's not working. The locksmith finally calls me, right? But it's the operator person, and they're like, hey, do you still need us? I'm like, well, yeah, you never came. Um, and it's like, all right, cool, we'll have a technician call. So the movers are like, hey, I think a a saw would be better than this bolt cutter. We could go back to Home Depot and just get a saw. And I was like, all right, bet. Like, if y'all don't mind, that's fine. Again, I'll pay y'all whatever. So they go to Home Depot, they call me, and they're like, we can rent one, but it needs to be plugged up. Is there like a plug near the unit? It's like one down the hall, but it's like, it's probably not like, the cord is probably not long enough. We'll have to get an extension cord. There's like the other option is to just get this one, like buy it for like $100, but it's battery operated. I was like, all right, cool. Whichever you think is best, I'm down for. I'll just pay you for whichever one, right? So they come back, they have the battery operated one, they start sawing, sparks flying everywhere. I take off my coat shades and give it to the guy using the saw to protect his eyes. The other guy's like trying to cover his eyes. The saw slips, almost catches his finger or something. Like, it was wild, right? But it's working. The lock is getting smaller. So there's hope until the saw dies. So they are like, they plug it up to charge the battery. They're like, maybe we can just beat it. Like, maybe it's thin enough that we could just like manual labor, right? Like, just beat it and it'll pop. So the one of the movers goes and gets like this big flathead screwdriver. I go to the front to ask the dude if they have like a hammer. He's not there. I don't know where he's at, but I found a brick. So they're like charging the saw and using the screwdriver and the brick to kind of bang on the lock. It's not fucking working. So they're like alternating between the two though. Like, the battery gets like 5 minutes to charge, they go back, saw again. They go through this for like a solid 45 minutes to an hour. Dude is dripping in sweat. Like, from his nose, sweat drops literally falling onto the floor. But finally, the shit breaks. The lock breaks. We are inside the storage unit. Unfortunately, my 2 hours are now up. But the guys were looking out. They canceled their next job. And I just had to pay for the additional time that they were going to use to move my stuff, right? So they take the stuff out of storage, put it on the truck, all is well. I go to pay the bill, and I tipped them really well, like 50% each, because they didn't have to do any of what they did for me. And so I appreciated it so much. I had to make sure I tipped them separately outside of like the company so they could get the full thing. Payment method isn't working on their end. So we had to try a few different things, got it sorted out. And right before we about to like go and get in our separate vehicles, this guy walks around the corner and was like, hey, how do y'all plan on getting out of here? And I'm like, that's a weird question. The gate? And I was like, you got to put your code in the gate, it'll open. He was like, nah, it's not working. So I go, why are we locked inside the public storage parking lot? Because it's after hours and they decide to lock the gate from entry and exit after hours. This is kidnapping at this point. Like, what? We can't even the pedestrian gate was locked. So I'm calling all the numbers and no one's answering. I keep getting voicemail. It's like the automated thing. I can't get to a live agent. So I go back to the chat feature and I'm like, yo, we're stuck in this parking lot. Let us out. And they're like, oh, well, policy and da-da-da. I was like, this is not the time to care about policy. Like, open the gate. So she remote accesses the gate, unlocks it. I'm like, the guy that came up to us is in a van in front of me. So I'm like, yo, she's about to unlock the gate, pull up, but stay there until I'm right behind you so I can get out. That's fine. That's all good. But him and this dude in another moving truck who's trying to get into facility start arguing about the fight while we trying to get out. Thankfully, it didn't escalate. Finally got out. I went to South Carolina. I then drove the truck to Atlanta. However, when I get to the apartment complex, my apartment is not ready and I am stuck with a U-Haul full of my things and nowhere to live the day before nursing school orientation.